my point of view. It's nobody's truth but mine. And what I'm gonna start with is the first chapter of inspiration, and that's when you're born. When you're born, you're a baby. You pick up. You're trying to pick up some things from your parents. You're watching movies, you're watching cartoons, you're watching everything that's around you. You're like basically like a sponge. For me, cartoons, English, and American and English music was the base of my sponge. You know? The start of what I thought was good was rock and roll, because it's the only, my perception was in rock and roll you can only see what's like true and loud, which is a big mistake for me, because I lost a couple of years only doing rock and roll. I had a band. The band was called Lamb Jam, and we started experimenting with analog technology, which was like Neves, Manly. You probably all know what those are, like preamps and stuff like that. I don't know. I only saw them as shiny and with lamps. I like to think with lamps. The start of our recording was, let's make an album that's completely original, which is bullshit, and let's make it like new era of rock and roll, garage rock, like Jack White meets I don't know, Stooges and stuff like that. So let's make it raw. Me and my band like very, very raw stuff. So the first time I considered doing music and doing production, and when I felt that it was completely serious, it was when I was going around Belgrade in every studio that I knew, and we collected cables, and cables and cables and cables and cables. Why cables? Because we had a studio in Zemun, and our friend who has a studio, Daniel Walkovic, who's a great producer and guitarist. He had a little studio in his father's truck company. I don't know, whatever it is. So we had basically eight channels with like 2 Neumanns and like overheads and stuff like that, picking up reverbs, and this is the part why we went to all the studios, because we needed 8 channels and like cable inside a cable and cable inside a cable for like 60 meters. So 60 meters times 8 channels. I'm not good with math, but it was like very, very difficult, and now when I think it's absolutely pointless that we did that, but it kind of isn't, because we got a like incredible sound. We like Led Zeppelin, and Led Zeppelin, when the levee breaks, so they recorded that in Charles Manson's house, and we didn't want just a plug-in that we can like turn the knob and just get the reverb of all the channels. We wanted a real damn reverb, and it was very, very difficult to mix. As you can imagine, it was extremely difficult to mix those drums. Anybody who's interested in hearing that, because we didn't publish any of those songs because we got in a fight and stuff like that, but we're cool now. It happens when you're like, when you have a band, it's like a marriage in 4 people, yeah, basically. I mean, all gay because we're all men. But at that time, we wanted to do something completely different that nobody from like Serbia rock bands did it. So mixing those drums were extremely difficult. And so now we came to the guitars. So what are we going to do with guitars, blah, blah. And we found this guy that's basically like Nikola Tesla, but crazier. His name is Oliver Isakovic, and he makes pedals that is just insane. So there was a battery killer. So we invented a battery killer that goes in any pedal, and it mimics, if anybody plays guitar here, when the battery dies inside of the pedal, you have a distinct sound of dying battery. And so what we did, we invented a battery killer that cuts off the voltage inside of any pedal. And so that's how we record the guitars. Apart from that, we got some speakers and put knives into it so we can get distortions like, I think the Stooges did that. So basically that was the whole point of the album, to make just like an original, which was not as an original as it was in the 80s, because we still did it like half digitally. But it was a great experience for us, all of us, to know what we want. For something as simple as putting an effect on something, for us it was 6 days of work. Because we wanted to know what was the point? Why did that? It's because of the distinct sound. And along the way, you can have some completely new ideas, and you get a new sound, or you wanted to go this way, but you ended up like completely somewhere else. And that was how I wanted, like where I started to respect engineers. And then right, hold on. Sorry, I said I'm not a professor. Hold on. So then we broke up, me and my three wives. We started becoming good friends again. I started to do traveling with modeling. I went to America, went to Japan. I lived in basically everywhere around the world for about 8 or 9 years. I was doing music, but not to the extent where I could do it full time. And I never knew that I could do music full time. The turning point, I think for everybody, maybe not everybody, but for the majority here, was Corona. And Corona simply did the worst and the best thing in people. I became a complete idiot with vaccines and everything. You became like that guy or girl, or then they then what? I don't know how to pronounce it. Or you became self-aware of what you're going to do in your life when you're in a corner. And that was music for me. So I started to live on my own inside, like in Belgrade, and my whole savings started running out. And I was like, right, I was like doing things for Tommy Hilfiger and H&M and stuff like that, and like traveling around the world, meeting all these great new people and stuff like that. That was gone. And what I had was my music. And I was like, all right, what am I gonna do now? So I started doing live looping. I think on my profile we have the first post was one of I think 10 videos that I did live looping in my house. That was the turning point for me, because I never knew that somebody